finally watched Christopher Reeve's Superman in probably the first time in like 2 decades. Let's definitely talk about this one. Hi, my name's Drew and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. Now I said when I posted just a few weeks ago my review of the new Superman film that I actually had planned to watch the original two, Superman the movie and Superman 2, before actually going to see the new DCU version of Superman. Didn't manage to do it, but obviously it was still on my to-do list, and I'm very happy to announce that I've done the first one. So it was really cool going back to that. I've got a 4K version of that film. It's really cool. Even I could still tell the difference, you know, because obviously back when I would have seen it, it would have been just on the TV, so the quality would have been very subpar. It's really lovely seeing all these old films in top-notch quality. I really enjoy that very much, I have to say. So I was really excited, and obviously you start making comparisons because naturally, although there were versions even on the screen before Christopher Reeve, he is quite obviously the blueprint for and benchmark for any Superman entity, be it nowadays a film or a TV show. So he's like, you know, everyone's trying to be what he is. And seeing the film again, obviously, because I hadn't seen it so long, while I still had some impressions, I didn't know too much. As soon as I had finished the film, I was like, yeah, I absolutely get that people not only compare every new version of Superman to him, but I also have to admit, kind of none of the versions actually comes close to Christopher Reeve, and it is really incredible. So it is one of these situations where you've had just the perfect casting, and you've, you know, made such a huge impact on the role of Superman. It's crazy. Anyway, before we get stuck into all those details, as per usual, I'll talk about the plot of the film. So this film is actually quite long. It's nearly 2.5 hours long. I was quite surprised by that, but it covers a lot of ground. So this is the one situation where I will allow and forgive them for giving you the origin story, because this was the first time they did it for a large group of people, you know. And so the film starts off with Krypton. We see Jor-El, we see Lara, the Superman's parents. They're talking with the Council of Krypton, discussing that the planet's going to go to pot. The Council, I mean, they believe something different is going to happen. They think it's just going to shift or something like that. Jor-El decides that he is going to send Kal-El, Clark, Superman, to Earth, right? With all the gathered knowledge that the Kryptonians had, you know, with various instructions. So over a few years, I think it's supposed to be 3 years or so, during his trip, unfortunately, Krypton does actually completely implode. So we do see that happening. It's quite cool. Obviously sad for them, but quite cool for us. On this trip, Clark just gets fed loads and loads of information, right? He learns about all sorts of things. Jor-El teaches him all sorts of scientific things, etc., etc. He lands on Earth, is found by the Kents, famously. They take him in because they rightly assume that he's not of Earth, you know, and someone will come looking for him. And we see parts of his upbringing when he was a teenager, the struggles he has of obviously having powers but not being able to use them, and obviously looking to the future about what is going to be, you know, his role in life. Unfortunately, spoiler, but I think this is well known. Jonathan Kent, so Clark's dad, he dies of a heart attack. Clark has got this crystal that makes him aware of he needs to go someplace. That place is up north. He creates his Fortress of Solitude, which we all know. There he's educated over a decade, I think, on just all sorts of matters, you know, concerning Krypton, etc., his heritage, all these kind of things. And then we see him in Metropolis, right? So this seemed like a very long-winded explanation of the plot, but that is because this is a very long-winded film in that sense. Not that it's boring, but there's just a lot happening in it. And in Metropolis, we see how he not only starts as a reporter at the Daily Planet, but we also see him, well, just coming into the role of being Superman, being a hero. And to give, obviously, a big bad, because you need a villain in a good superhero story, we've got Lex Luthor. He's got this plan to just get rid of California, basically, to erect his own sort of real estate stuff. In this version, he's a sort of real estate guy. He's really focused on real estate, which is quite funny. But yes, so he is the big bad, and that is basically the plot. Obviously, Superman gets involved in that and has to try and find a way of stopping Lex blowing up California, as it were. Yes, that's all I'll tell you about the plot. It is quite the majority of the plot, I will be honest, but to be fair, this is an older film, so you probably know it anyway, or at least you can, I don't know, discern some version of it from the tidbits you've heard of Superman before, because in that sense, it seems like a very standardized story. Yeah, so that's the plot, as I said. I mean, I've already mentioned it, but I do really need to come back to just being giddy about how incredible Christopher Reeve is. It's really fascinating watching him acting-wise, because that's something I definitely didn't pick up on as a teenager. You see just how differently he plays Superman and Clark Kent, and I immediately realised, it's like, we haven't had that since then, because not only the new version, but, you know, Henry Cavill's version, any version of Superman, I didn't really get the same sort of contrast between the two figures. You know, Superman is really just very, very confident. And as Clark Kent, he's bumbling around, he's obviously very clumsy. Even just his speech pattern changes completely. And in this version, you really can believe easily that no one would put two and two together, because he just really seems like a completely different person. Now, that is something I don't understand why we don't have more of that in the modern versions, because it is really, really cool just watching him. So it wasn't just that, but the physicality. I mean, for back then, Christopher Reeve, you might say, oh, he doesn't look as buff as they look now. Well, for back then, that really was very buff. You know, that was quite unusual to sort of go into bodybuilding that much just for a role. And it's really great, because when he is Superman, it really just translates so well. You do actually believe, compared to everyone around him, that, you know, this is a guy who could actually do all these things. The technology is pretty cool. Obviously, by this time, I mean, the film is nearly 60 years old, you know. It's incredible. For the time, the special effects were really good. It's really fun watching them. You can obviously see things like, for instance, you've got towards the end, in the third part of the film, you've got miniatures being used. To me, they were very obviously miniatures, but again, you have to think of the time, etc., and how they used them. I mean, it must have looked quite incredible, I believe. So the special effects are really cool. I mean, thinking that in the 70s, you're not having to put someone in the air flying, you know, that's not really an easy task to do. I enjoyed Gene Hackman's, Gene Hackman's, yeah. For a second I had Hugh Jackman in my head. No, Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor. He is very quirky. He is incredibly arrogant. You know, this is. I thought that Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor was arrogant, but this one is even more arrogant, and he's, you know, it's kind of ugly watching him talk to his subordinates. You know, he just belittles them so much. I mean, it's good. You know, that's a character, but it's just, oh, you feel so bad for them, you know, they're just trying to do their best for him, but at the same time, he just does not care about them whatsoever. I thought it was very funny. This real estate angle they've got going is very, very strange, but we do see his genius level intellect and him going against Superman. I really enjoyed that. So Lex Luthor is a character here, very good as well. It's very just strange for us because obviously he's got hair, which is something we don't see a lot with Lex Luthor. The story is fine as well. I liked we see Superman saving a lot of people, which is something that in the modern superhero film really is something that does not happen that much. It is really a shame because it is about those little things, I feel, as well. But that, despite, I don't know, the world ending or it feeling like the world is ending, that you still pay attention to the individuals and try and save them, because every life is worth saving, which I feel is great to have Superman, you know, be that one guy who really does try to save every little person out there. I mean, they partially had that in the new one as well, where he even saves a squirrel. People were outraged because of that. But I like that version of the superheroes. And obviously nowadays we focus too much on big battles. There is no big battle here. That's what also is really interesting. It really is, I mean, if you've got someone like Superman, you need a really big thing happening. And here in this case, spoiling it a wee bit, it's a natural disaster, I'll call it. Natural. It's a disaster anyway. And yeah, so he has to, well, use his wits as well, because it's not just about punching stuff, you know, he has to think about how he's going to approach the problem. And I really like that. So, and then obviously trying to close this out here a bit, you've got the score. I mean, John Williams' Superman theme is obviously world famous. I love it to bits. I am still to this day trying to find the sheet music so I can learn on the bagpipes, because I really, really want to learn on the bagpipes. It's really difficult. There's this famous video of a guy playing it on a unicycle, etc., but I can't find the sheet music myself, and musically, I'm not good enough to write it down myself, you know, to figure it out, but I think I'll have to try and do that because I won't get it otherwise. But the music is just incredible. Every time it comes on, in which form, shape, whatever, it's just wonderful. You know, it really is one of the best pieces of music we've ever gotten on film. John Williams, I mean, not surprising really. It's just one of his greats. I mean, that's crazy too. But yeah, this film is really, really good. It surprised me in so many ways, and I have to say, at least in my opinion, this still is the best version of Superman we've ever gotten on screen. So I'm looking forward to seeing the second one, because what I'm going to do is, if you don't know, there are two different cuts of the second Superman film. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on. They filmed Superman 1 and 2 at the same time. And then when about 75% of Superman 2 was done, you know, they got rid of the director, Richard Donner, but there is a Donner cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch both versions of Superman 2, and I'll probably return to YouTube, you know, with my thoughts. Don't know when that's going to happen, but anyway, it's on my radar. It's one of the things I've got planned. But yes, if you want to see the quintessential movie Superman, I would have to say it still is Christopher Reeve. It's incredible. He is just Superman. You know, from the first minute he's on screen, absolutely perfect. And like I say, if you do watch it, pay particular attention to how he portrays Clark Kent. It's really fascinating. I thought that was really cool, and I would like to see more of that in the modern versions. That'll be all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below about Superman, any of his iterations that you want to talk about, but especially this film, of course. Anything you want to say, put it in the comments below. I'll thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one on Flying Wiener. Take care. Bye.